Joining me on the yellow table, as I've now coined it, is Ian. Ian is CEO and founder of ParallelChain Labs, right? Which is everything to do about blockchain and more. They're headquartered in Singapore. So, Ian, welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for making it. Are you enjoying SFF 2023?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? I've spent the last 2 days here. I've had the opportunity to meet a number of founders, not just here, but obviously in the walk around. And I think, every year SFF just does a wonderful job. And I'm not saying it because I'm running a podcast for them. I'm actually a big fan of everything that, Supnendu Mohanty and his team have created here in terms of SFF. So, Ian, as we were talking when we met yesterday briefly, right? This is less about your startup, right? This is more about you, right? It's about your journey as an
Right.
entrepreneur, your journey as a founder. So let me start with a very sort of open question, right? Which is, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about how the entrepreneurial journey started for you, right? So what got you going, right? What's the journey been like so far? And in answering that, give me a couple of nuggets in terms of either events, incidents, learnings that came around, which has sort of made you the entrepreneur that you are today, right? I think that's pretty broad to start with. So let's begin. Floor is yours.
Yeah. I have done two startups. One was done in Silicon Valley, and one is right here in Hong Kong first, and then now we relocate the company to Singapore.
Excellent.
And we're in the blockchain and AI business. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think I can contribute a little bit more to the blockchain ecosystems. That's why I choose to do this.
So tell me a little bit about your journey so far. So talk about your Silicon Valley journey and your Hong Kong, Singapore journey. So you've had two entrepreneurial journeys.
Right. The Silicon Valley is quite a while ago, and it's very different than because the time is different, and also the culture is different. In Singapore, rather focus in the Singapore issue. Singapore and Hong Kong is the generation is different, and the younger generation is also different. They have more knowledge and more exposure than before. And then the VCs are different. Okay, so the task is really the VCs, they attract the investor, but more importantly is building a team. And building a team is this is happened to I have experienced that the younger generation are much more open-minded and creative, and don't have the baggage behind them. Baggage like I've done it before many times, so I'll do it again. Or the baggage is it has been done before and it didn't work. Okay, so now the younger people, and also this is a way for me to return the favors that I receive by my mentors in the past. Now, the good things and the difficult things is identify the right talent. There's always a difficult task. It's not easy, and sometimes it takes time to confirm whether the person you selected is the right person. And it's a phase-in process. It's not a day one. Okay, that's the guy. It's a phase-in process that goes through a few tests, and there are several things that must remember. There's a rule of thumb. Number one, let them make small mistakes, so they can learn from it. Must able to do that, to let go and let them make small mistake. Big mistake, of course, you have to stop them. So you have to balance that. That is not an easy task. But so far, I'm very glad to say I am very happy with. I have two younger generation people I'm very I feel very good about them.
So you're not just the manager, but you're also a mentor at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So, but Sal, tell me. So, I'm actually very interested to understand. So, I totally agree with you. I've had the opportunity to work in a number of countries. My career spans about 20 years too. I've worked as far west as the U.S. and as far east as I don't know if Hong Kong is more east than Singapore, but I guess this part of the world, right? And everything in between, right? Very lucky. I consider myself very fortunate. But all through that journey, what actually the learning for me was that there's so many adjustments that I had to make, right? Some of them were culturally driven. The others were just personalities. The third thing was dynamics of team, etc., etc. So if you were to pick at 2 or 3 things that you had to do differently or learn new in this sort of, I may say, Ian 2.0 versus Ian 2.1, 1.0,
yeah.
what would those be?
I have to adjust the number one. I must adjust myself to the newer environment and bring myself up to date on today's environment and culture and the way it does things, which is vastly different than many years ago. So the first thing is I must adjust myself. If I'm not able to do that, then it doesn't work at all. So it's me. And the second thing is have to understand the younger generation, what they think and what they used to and what their preferences are, and also have to adjust to them, not adjust to me again. It's I adjust to them, not they adjust to me. So those it's easier said than done.
Agreed with you.
Yeah.
Let me then focus not about how you adjusted to the people, but you made a very interesting point, which is evolving oneself, right? What you said, adjust yourself or change yourself. How have you been able to do it, right? So one thing is just realization, right? There's so much we realize in life, but we then are not able to execute against it, right? Because we don't have the tools, the mechanisms to do it.
Right.
So what have you, what's been your trick in terms of adjusting to yourself or evolving yourself, as you said?
First, you have to have discipline. The discipline to practice it every day, every incident. And the more you practice, it will become you. It may take 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, but you must continue to practice it, and it will become you, part of you.
Okay, that's it. Just discipline.
Of course, you have to go out and mingle and learn what the younger generation thinks, and what are their issues, and some of them, they have different issues, and nowadays is they have more exposure, but they also have less exposure, more exposure to the world, but less exposure about the world too.
Agreed. Totally agree. So let me pose a question, and feel free to disagree. Right. So this is just my hypothesis. Younger generation today, I think arguably they're a more open society today, generally, by far, across every culture. It's relative, but it is, right? They're more accepting, they're more open about their gaps. In a way, they're actually more willing to be able to ask for mentoring, ask for coaching, right? The older generation, guys like you and me, right? We find that hard because of 2 reasons. One is cultural context was different when we were growing up, right? In a number of cultures, asking for help was accepting defeat, right? Which was, in my opinion, foolish, but that existed. The second thing is we struggle in taking mentorship or coaching with someone who is younger than us in years. Because for some reason, we believe that coaching and mentoring can only come from someone who has experience of age. What is your view on that?
Absolutely. The younger generation also taught me things that I am blind to. So the communication with them, the mentorship, first of all, is a two-way street. Okay. So they can also help me to adjust myself, to discipline myself, and it is critical.
Interesting. Now come back to your current venture, right? How big a team do you have now?
Around 42.
You have 42 people. All of them are based in Singapore?
Most of them.
Most of them are based in Singapore. All right. Now, business is growing, right? And as you grow, your team's growing around you, right? We're not going to talk about the team. In terms of about managing, so in terms of the evolution of the entrepreneur that you are, how are you evolving from being the entrepreneur to the leader, right? Because they're not naturally similar skill sets, right? A lot of entrepreneurs always think that they're the smartest people in the room. A leader is much more aware of the emotional quotient that he might have, because 42 people is a fairly sized team. I don't want you to sort of tell me about understanding your team. What have you had to learn? What have you had to do differently to become a better leader?
Each person, each individual has his own style and has their own way to accept messages. And I have to learn how to what make them click. And each of them are different. And so it's an individual case. It's not you cannot have a formula and that's it. I apply this to everyone. No. You cannot do that. So you have to learn about what the other like, and then you communicate with him or her accordingly.
So it's about empathy, the EQ side is actually interesting, right? I'm going to ask you a very, very direct question, right? And it's the last question I'm going to ask you. Not the startup. You're not comparing the startup. Was it more fun being an entrepreneur when it was Ian 1.0 or when it's Ian 2.0?
I have a different motive.
Okay.
1.0 was for financial freedom. 2.0 has a different agenda.
Okay.
So, and I'm more, I'm pleased with the 2.0.
You're more pleased with 2.0?
Yeah.
Right. Ian, I'd like to thank you. Thanks for coming in.
The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah. I hope it was a coffee chat without coffee, right? I think I should get a coffee machine.
There's a virtual coffee.
Well, that's exactly when the world's going virtual, so we should just imagine we were having coffee. But I wish you the very best. I like your as you said, your agenda. I like the sort of the higher purpose, because we spoke yesterday. I think it's a very noble cause in the way you're coming about it. I think a lot of youngsters can gain a lot of knowledge, and I don't mean technical knowledge, but I think the fact is that what you're trying to do is not easy by any stretch of imagination. I can't imagine being a founder, even if I had the world's best idea, right? Although I think all the best ideas are gone, and then someone comes up with something new. But with the sincerest words, I wish you and your company the very best for the future, and hopefully our paths will cross. Maybe I'll write to you and you can teach me a few things about blockchain, right? But thank you for coming.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much.
Right. Thanks.